Kevin, welcome. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's great
Oh,
to be here.
yeah. So, what's going on in Portland? What's the talk about opening back up? And more importantly, how are you doing through all this?
I'm surviving. I can't complain. Just working from home, and it's actually been good because since I can't distract myself and do anything outside the home, I've been writing and recording a bunch, and my band has been actually quite productive. So, under the circumstances, but as
Well,
far as yeah.
well, the thing is, you all live in different parts of the country. So
Yeah.
this is you're used to this anyway as well.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. When this all started, before like all the shelter in place orders were happening, we were kind of wondering what would happen. How the artists are going to react to this? Is this going to be a slow, season of business for us, or what might happen? I thought, just anecdotally, I was noticing that my own band, those guys had more time, so they were being very proactive. Let's get more songs written. Let's use this time to get more music out. And I was like thinking, this actually might have a landslide of business for CD Baby, which has been true. we have had a tidal wave of new music being distributed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Musicians, producers, songwriters, we're kind of used to self-quarantining. Like, we'll go in the basement and just shut the door for hours and days. So
just throw food on, open the door and throw food in every once in a while.
Exactly. Slide a piece of toast under the door.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned about like adapting during the time. So, what the streaming numbers are, and what's going to be coming. So, like, how have you and CD Baby adapted during these times? And importantly, has this affected collections, payouts at all?
It has not affected any sort of collections or payouts. We've been, that's one of the things when artists choose CD Baby. One thing that is rock solid that we make sure you're taken care of is that you get paid on time and there's no interruptions in payments. For 22 years the company's been around, we've never missed paying artists. So that's something we pride ourselves in. Even when we've had massive, like we had a system outage one time, we still got payments out to artists because it's their money and we want to make sure they have it. Yeah. So no, all that's going ahead as normal. Artists have definitely gone into distribution mode in just unbelievable amounts of music being distributed right now. And so it's just been interesting to see that how people are adapting and using their time now that they're not on the road. Part of it is that I've been looking at the numbers. I'm like, not all of this is brand new music. I mean, it was like March 13th, someone pushed a button and the distribution numbers went like this. Like, all these albums just didn't get recorded yesterday because a tour got canceled. So I think a lot of it is people have time that they're focusing on things online and getting their musical house in order during this time, and also creating a lot of new stuff too.
Yeah, and that's like March 13th. That was the start of the weekend that everything shut down.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can look at our Google Analytics, and it literally is like it just shoots up that day.
Well, we're going to talk about this, and definitely a lot of marketing tips. First, as a question, and then I get a lot of people asking me, and especially artists, is when globally they changed the release date from Tuesday to Friday. Now, many artists are, and in this day and age, you can say, I want to release it on a Sunday afternoon at 2:00. It doesn't matter. But, and especially maybe in these times, do you think that artists should be looking at just new dates, or should they be going for that Friday? I mean, that's a whole different Spotify and release radar.
Yeah.
Outside trying to be on release radar, just generally, what's your thoughts on releasing on a different day of the week?
Well, I do greatly dislike Friday being the day, because it's usually the day people are checking out for the weekend, less focused. And so when all your marketing is landing on a Friday, it's more challenging. What I've been doing with my music, and I've seen other artists doing, is they've been releasing on Wednesday or Thursday, because Wednesday is actually the start of the reporting week.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's you can release on a Wednesday and still be considered new music for that week. If you go any earlier, it gets to it's like the end of the last week. So that's where that's what I've been doing, is dropping things on a Wednesday, giving the diehard fans, getting them activity, but then doing the big push out on Friday. And that's usually release radar and all that kind of stuff happens. And that way there's a little bit more space, because it really does stink, especially in the digital world, where people aren't like, oh, it's the weekend, I'm going to go out to the record store and get that album I was talking about. It's like they're doing all their streaming and stuff during the work week mostly, and then the weekend numbers tend to be lighter. And so that's what I've been doing and seen other artists do. But the systems, as far as the platforms themselves, the Friday's still the day.
Mm-hmm. So what are you seeing, like, numbers wise, like, with the artists, like, what do you think might be their biggest challenges? I mean, besides the fact that there's no live music, okay?
Yeah.
We don't know when that's going to come back into play. There's so many factors. Trying to predict that we could go on for hours talking about it. And, it's like, but besides that, like, the challenges, okay, like, we can come up with merch strategies. We can come up like other ways to generate revenue. And then there's the live streaming. And then we also have live streaming takedowns and copyright.
Mm-hmm.
So, what in this kind of climate, what would you suggest, like some tips or best practices to market yourself as an artist?
Well, I could speak all day on that particular question, but I won't. I'll try and. So I'm trying to sum it up. I've done a lot of experimenting in this area because, as you mentioned at the top of the show, my band, when we were back in our label days, we all lived in Atlanta and toured nonstop. But ever since, all our recent independent activity, we've all been scattered around the country. I'm up in Portland. Some of them are in Atlanta still, and around the South and other places. And so for me, my mind has always been, we don't play as much live as I'd like to. And live is a great opportunity to generate content. When we do play live. We did a short tour in December. I've got a videographer there. I've got other people there to like make sure this is more about us capturing content to use the rest of the year than it is just about this live show that in this particular city. So I start with that mindset for anything we do. But then I've gotten where it's all, for me, I spend a lot of time like, how can I strategically connect the dots online and find fans? So I've been doing a lot of things, like there's a lot of great things you can do with Facebook ads as far as featuring a video, and then the people that watch a certain life get the next video and another video. Mm-hmm. And you start whittling them down to, finally giving them some sort of like, give us an email address, become part of the fold a little bit more and capture that relationship. So I've been doing a lot of testing with things like that. But I think ultimately, if you're going to focus online, video is very helpful, whether it's live stream or other things. My band actually was featured in the CD Baby blog and went out in the email today. We did one of those live Zoom call videos, and our fans just went crazy for it. We recorded it all with iPhones. Of course, it was not live over Zoom, because you cannot play with your bandmates live over Zoom and expect to make anything that your fans would.
It'll sound like banging pots and pans and the train wreck, and just like
So, but we did record it with our iPhones, and we made a video. So it's lots of video content, I think, is of all kinds, is very useful right now. And when you're in a situation where you can't get out on the road.
Yeah. And one thing that I always discuss when I was either managing or, coaching, and, is about getting email addresses, which you mentioned, and how important that is, because here's another time that we're looking at different platforms. People are moving to different platforms. So how do you, if you're going to start doing some Zoom chats, it's like, if you don't have email addresses of your fans, it's very difficult to then to go to Instagram and then say link in bio, because you can't hot link in Instagram. So like, here, go to Zoom. So it's an extra step. And once you get to 2 steps out, the attrition drop off of that call to action goes away.
Absolutely.
And so it's always important. It's like maybe in your live streams is like how to how do you figure out a way to collect the email addresses? Or here's my link. And people are using Linktree a lot in Instagram now, aligning that. I mean, there was just a report, I don't remember, but like Linktree is one of the hottest commodities right now. So it's like, here's, go buy my, here's my Spotify account. Here's my YouTube channel. Sign up for my email, sign up for my newsletter.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's interesting with email, one, by far, as a marketer, I can tell you, if you want people to take action, it's the best thing. Maybe Facebook Messenger, I think it's still in the early days of that, because there's like all this opt-in, and then ultimately, Facebook still owns that relationship because they own Messenger. Mm-hmm. So the idea with email, one, it's very action oriented, and people, if you want to communicate something and get people to take action, email is got to be a part of your game. But also, it's like our online identity right now, or your identifier. It doesn't matter if you even have an email program for your fans or are doing anything with email. If you want to, own that relationship, that's like their online social security number almost. It's like, that's who they are. And, I may not even ever do anything with email, but if I want to, I can target all those, upload that list to Facebook and target all those people with ads. So it's like collecting that is just, that's, if you're going to, outside of having their physical address and mailing something or going and visiting their house, that's the closest you're going to get to being able to have direct contact with somebody without a third party in the way making you pay for it. So
two things, you mentioned ads twice, and Facebook ads. And for artists, thinking about advertising is such a foreign idea.
Yep.
On top of that, many think that, this is too much of an expense. When in reality, throwing in a few dollars and running a campaign, it's relatively simple to set up once you do it a few times. And just for like, here's $20 and I'm going to let it ride for a little bit. I mean, there's more nuances to that.
Yeah.
But, what's your experience? Maybe you have some tips on that about how not to be afraid of advertising.
Yeah, I think the number one tip that I would give about advertising, and where most artists and even marketers go wrong, is they have a new song, they've got $20 and they say, I want to target the world. I'm like, no, you can't do anything with $20 and target the whole world. And I think we've been taught that I want to reach everybody and bigger is better. But in advertising, small, narrow focused is what you want. And so with little amount of money, if you get really narrow and focused, you can reach a lot of people and get good results. I wasted a couple months of my fall just doing all these Facebook advertising programs and running things and testing stuff. And you can get it down to like $1 a day, where it's still actually generating stuff for you that's worthwhile if you know how to target and get to the right people. So like if I was a band just starting out trying, testing the waters, I would just only focus on my hometown. And narrow it, if you live in a big city and that has several zip codes, narrow it down to one zip code, and see how that goes. And in fact, I was thinking the other day, since I've been bored, I've added lights to my garage and I've started shooting videos just to make people laugh. And you can see it on my Instagram. But anyway, I thought about, it'd be funny just to target the people. I live in a small town outside of Portland. Target the people in my town and see if I actually know, if anyone outside in the real world makes the connection, just to see how narrowly focused you can get those ads. But when you go narrow, you can get pretty strong results. And then it's focused on an area where, like, hey, our band's in Atlanta, like we got a show in Atlanta, let's target Atlanta people. And then we can see if that actually got people to the show or to our live stream, the people from Atlanta or something like that. Even though the internet's global, you don't have to treat your fans that way.
Yeah. And it's something that also experiment with it. The more if you have some time now, experiment with it. You don't have you don't have to hit the publish the ad button. You can go through and select your targets and it'll tell you, your potential reach. So if you start learning to understand these, when we get back out there, it's like, okay, well, I have a video. So I've tried putting in $20 to see what kind of video, what kind of results
Yeah.
there. And I was hyper focused. Well, now that you know how to do this and understand, once we get back into a live culture, live society, you now have the leg up of everybody else who didn't bother looking
Yeah.
into. And then, like, here, we're going to sell tickets because we're going to be in Denver, we're going to be in we're going to be in Atlanta, we're going to be in Fort Worth, and you can hyper focus. And now that you've already had that experience, it's like anything else, do it a few times and and it becomes quicker and easier to do.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely something like with ads, you can waste a lot of money quickly if you don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing. So it's, but like, yeah, I think one thing right now, it's a perfect time to try a lot of things that maybe you didn't have time for if you were out on the road or distracted with or I wouldn't say distracted is not the right word, like, but you've had, like, maybe you had band practices all the time and all these things, and like you can't do that right now. So focus on these things of like getting your digital house in order and understanding where you're at. I mean, for us, we had a new video for our latest single that I posted a couple weeks ago. And I realized, oh my gosh, our YouTube page is a mess. I haven't given it any attention for a couple of years. And there's all these unanswered comments. And I thought I had other videos there that weren't. And so for me, it's just like, okay, I've been taking the time to like get things in order. So as things start opening up, you're ready to take advantage of it. Because I think, someone mentioned something. I was like, oh, that's a good point. That as cities and countries start opening back up, it's going to be small size shows first. So that band that normally draws 1,000 people or doesn't play unless they're in a venue that holds 1,000 or more people, they're not going to be able to get gigs right away. It's going to be the independent artists that that are ready to go and ready to roll and understand, okay, the window of opportunity is opening up. They want live music, but they're not looking for a band that's going to send 1,000 people all at once.
Right.
Even just to test the waters, it's there might be some opportunities for artists to get on stages that they normally wouldn't, because the venue is less focused about ticket sales and more just about, like, we got to test all this methodology about managing people under these new circumstances. So let's just get some bands in here to try it out.
Right.
So
and I feel it's going to be also limited space. There's some of these venues are not going to survive. And once those gates open, it's going to be all the booking agents along with the artists going to the talent buyers and like, can you get me, say if it opens, say it opens up in September, we'll just, say fall.
Yeah.
September. It's like, all right, I need I want a September 15th show. I want a 21st show. I want an October. It's like, it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to be competing for a limited space. And also, they might have restrictions about capacity. So that's a very good point to be, to take into consideration. So, let's talk about CD Baby itself for a moment. And you mentioned since 1998. And correct me if I'm wrong, I have some stats here, home to 650,000 artists, 9 million tracks. You're on 100 digital service platforms around the world. Last year you were acquired by Downtown. So, Justin, what he's doing is fantastic. I mean, he's really building this, Downtown music group and everything, and doing some wonderful things. So, talk about the services and resources you provide for the musicians, and make sure to, talk about that podcast of yours.
Yeah. You mentioned, we've been around since 1998. So yeah, things have changed as far as our business and focus over the years. It was started as a place for artists to really just do direct sales to their fans, and we would fulfill the CD orders. And then as digital distribution was added in, and we continue to morph, and really what we're about is just helping artists monetize their musical assets in any way possible. And so we do publishing administration. Our sync licensing program has been taking off this year. If you've been home sheltering in place, watching a lot of Netflix, chances are you've heard some CD Baby artists, because we've been getting a lot of Netflix placements and other places as well. But so we do that. We do YouTube monetization is a huge chunk of revenue for artists, and we help them capture that revenue. And of course, digital distribution, and always looking for new things like services like TikTok and Facebook and Instagram monetization. Some of those things fall outside of the, the typical monetization paths that got used to, even in a download world. And so, things like lyrics and all that kind of stuff are all revenue opportunities for artists. And that's what we're trying to be about, and just help artists capture all that revenue, no matter where the opportunities lie.
Can you dive into TikTok just briefly, because that is everything. It's the hot buzzing question. How do I get my music? How do I get an influencer to play my song? How do I get, it's like, we're all getting the same. So coming from your side, and then since you brought it up, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we distribute your music to TikTok. So if you use CD Baby, it will go to TikTok. And, I think what's interesting about TikTok, I think it's still in its early stages. And I think now that it's kind of exploded, when I've talked about it to some people, I was telling them, it's a true social video platform, where, like YouTube, when it started, it was more of a social video platform. It is not anymore. YouTube wants you to create content that is geared around specific themes and operates like a channel. That's not how social video works. TikTok is a prime example of people making videos just to interact with one another and be goofy, fun, or whatever. And so it'll be interesting to see how it morphs and changes now that more people are using it. But the thing that's great about TikTok that artists may or may not know if they haven't used it before is it really was built around the music experience. And videos that are that do very well on TikTok all have music a part of it, that it's a piece of the experience, and it's right there where you push the button and you can instantly make your own video to that same piece of music. So that's why music spreads so quickly on TikTok. And so when you see people doing these dances, I want to do my version of that dance, the button is already right there to click it and start it and make my own version. And so I think they've really stumbled onto the user-generated content to a new level. Like, we've experienced that with YouTube, where people have just been uploading videos that they've created with music, but TikTok drives that experience. And so as an artist, if you've got a piece of music that everyone's doing a dance to or using as a musical meme along with their video, it can be very powerful. And so that platform is built around that. We'll see how it changes and morphs over time, because everything does. And, I think it's, I'm optimistic that it'll end up in a place that's very useful, and not just I goofed off on TikTok for a month, I'm moving on with my life.
Right, exactly. So, well, leading into and your CD Baby offers, just definitely check out in the show notes. I'm going to have a link to CD Baby and the DIY podcast. So definitely check that out. Oh, wrapping up, like, what are your thoughts on the future once this abates? Like, how do you think the landscape will be changed for the artists?
Well, I think artists are going to have to rely on online promotions as a larger piece of the pie with their musical fan interactions, more so than maybe they did in the past. So that band that just wanted to play shows and not worry about anything online, there's lots of them that still exist. They're going to struggle even more, because, like you mentioned, it's not going to be like a switch is flipped and all the venues are back and vibrant and thriving. A lot of them are going to go out of business. Being a venue is a tough business, even in the good times.
Yeah.
And so for artists, there's going to have to be this balance of, yes, getting out and performing live, but that understanding that I really need to engage in these online tools and use them, because they're going to be important, because I'm just not going to be able to get as many gigs for a while as I want. And I think independent artists are poised well for that, because, for a lot of independent artists, that's been their game anyway, because they've had to. It's harder to get places, or they just do music in a different way that's geared towards interacting online. So I think, music's going to always thrive. It's going to continue to be there. Artists are going to keep writing and recording. And, but it's going to be a little different for a while, and you need to focus in on taking advantage of the tools that are available online and getting good at using them, because that's going to be an important part of the mix.
Yeah, and I think the foundation is something you mentioned earlier: is get your digital house in order, clean it up,
Mm-hmm.
get
Yeah.
it, make it efficient, because we're going to be in this for a while. And even when we come out of it, it's going. I feel it's going to be more of a hybrid market where you have live, but you're going to have more online and digital live. So it's going to be, teasers and like come see me. And once people
Yeah.
are really familiar with the platforms. So Kevin,
Yeah.
thank you. But it could be a quick question is, besides this being over, what are you especially looking forward to? Like, what's the first place or the first thing you're going to go or do once this is done?
Well, traveling is my favorite thing, and I've already canceled so many trips this year. And the one that hurt the most was we do a conference in Valencia, Spain, with Berkeley at their campus there, and so I was going to Valencia and then to Cannes for Mid-Em, and the Mediterranean right there is just one of the best places on planet Earth, and having to cancel that really hurt. But
Yeah.
yeah, going somewhere warm. Portland's actually been quite nice as of late, but I love traveling. I love seeing people and being out on the road with artists. So anywhere, just put me on a plane, I'll go.
Just get me out of here. So thank you so much, Kevin. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and hopefully we'll all be out flying around enough.
Yes.
Have a wonderful day, and please
Thank
stay
you.
healthy.
Thank you.
So that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to join the conversation, please leave your comments below, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to sign up at musicindustrycity.com to stay updated on what's going on in the music business. See you next time.